Okay, look, I'd like to introduce two things, the next online conference, but first up, an article that was written over the last week, and it was a bit difficult because, to be honest, normally we have the best science, the best evidence, and we have this bar, and if it doesn't reach the bar, we don't include it. Well, this is all evidence that never reached the bar. So there's a difference in this, but I've got to make a point. Um, it was inspired not so much by evidence that didn't quite get there. It was inspired by a quote attributed, and some people argue about, to Joseph Goebbels and what the Pentagon has released, which no one's arguing about. And those two things brought this article into fruition, and really it goes a bit like this. First of all, the quote from Goebbels is about, he was a minister for propaganda from about 33 to 45 in Germany, quite a popular gentleman and well known. And there's a commentary attributed to him that says something along the lines that if you tell a lie often enough and keep repeating it, people will eventually come to believe it. The lie can be maintained only for such a time as the state can shield the people from the political, economical, and or military consequences of the lie. It thus becomes vitally important for the state to use all of its powers to repress dissent. For the truth is the mortal enemy of the lie, and thus, by extension, the truth is the greatest enemy of the state. I found that interesting. And by the way, this doesn't relate to the issues we have with things, jabs and stuff. I'm not talking about that. We don't do that one. What I am talking about is what I know is the lie that was admitted as a lie by the Pentagon. And what they've said is, oh, well, yeah, we've said for 50 years it's a weather balloon, it's not this, we've threatened these people, and quite a few people I think were killed too, and reputations were destroyed, and there was a show called X-Files that was put up basically about them trying to fight against this group, which were real, were blocking everything. Now that was part of the setting, the climate, the covert condition climate of the day, that nothing was said about that. And what I find interesting is that I don't trust many avenues of government and all the bureaucracy. And I find it interesting that after 50 years of a global climate that was primarily created by the Pentagon, by the military arm that went around the world and made sure, with the exception of Russia and China, which didn't listen to them, that everyone treated this the same way. And that's what this article's about. And I've actually included the photographs and testimony of a gentleman by the name of Brenton, an original man of high cultural intentions, a very honest person. He believes he photographed and sensed, didn't see it at the time, but sensed a reaction with a UFO. Wouldn't make it. It's not strong enough. I mean, the stuff we put up is, but that's not quite strong enough. Then I'm going to talk about a story that took place in Gosford where thousands saw UFOs hovering over water with arms coming down and sucking water up. Thousands saw it. And I'm talking to a lady who's got an OAM, Order of Australia, for Community Services by the federal government. Her name's Nina Angelo. And she told me the story of how that took place, so I included that one. Then I included one of me when I was a kid at school, where hundreds of us saw a UFO hovering, a silver disc above us, and we all stopped and looked at it for 10 minutes, came back to school the next day, not a word was said by anyone. And I wanted to find out how that happened. The article is about that. Why is it that if you see something like, don't say it, because if you do, you're just going to get grief. You're going to be ridiculed, people are going to make fun of you, and then maybe further, you might get a visit by people with clandestine visit with people with sinister agendas, making sure you don't go on with this. And that was the reality. That's what X-Files was about. That's what everything was about, because that was based on truth, and that's what was popular at the time. And then all of a sudden, the Pentagon, the ones who created this, sort of casually say, oh yeah, it was there. It's not us. It's definitely there. It's always been there. And then on with business. And then they make up a lie by saying it could be the Russians, maybe it's the Chinese, and it could be at the bottom of the list, aliens. And then walk away. What I find interesting, and this is what staggers me the most, is that's a great example of what Goebbels spoke about that took place straight after they defeated the Nazis. They behaved like Nazis in lying and doing the same lie continually and attacking and repressing anyone that went against that lie. But where was the apology? For the grief, for the angst, and for the deception that they willingly and openly admit. It's true. They were there, but they were saying before it wasn't, and they had the same evidence all the time. They knew then and then lied for 50 years, but where's the apology? So the article is more about that than it is about the particular evidence I'm presenting, which we know is true. Our point is, why is when you even go down that path, people attack you? So that for me is a really important side issue. And the reason I used evidence that wasn't 100% provable is that's what this is all about. Very little of evidence. I mean, the one we got from the UFO flying over Uluru, that is powerful evidence you can't dismiss. But that's rare. It's really rare. Now, the second part of this is about our next online conference. Looks like we're never going to be able to do it any other way at this rate, that's for sure. I'd like to do this live and not talk to a screen, but we don't have a choice. Okay, what are we doing this time? I'm picking up on a question. As you may know, we're now doing a series of questions with an alien through Leah, and we've been through the reasons why we believe this is true and it works and it's genuine. I'm not going to do it now. But I deliberately asked a question last time when I said, why did the aliens come here? And what did they expect from this? And I knew when Mesrith objected and said, well, this is what we think, but we're not the rest. And I wanted to do that this time. And that's for that reason we've got Sanya on talking about she was there and in front of the Caracas skulls and skeletons of what is an alien race. And in our case, we're going to do solely, basically, the skulls found in Australia, not just the ones we've got, that have no forehead, massive eyes, a huge brain, much bigger than us, nothing like us. I wanted to ask him about the different races and their intentions and the different groups that have turned up here. And are they all enlightened in certain respects? Do they understand things? I want to get a feel for all the different types of aliens who are here, and that's what this is primarily about. About what we're doing and what Sanya's doing. And then alongside that, and complementary to it, we're bringing Arnie Mini Mace back. This time not giving a lecture as such, but more in conversation with me. And just like I'm in conversation with Leah asking Mesrith these questions, I've got some areas with Arnie Mini Mace I want to talk about. I want to talk about Carryong and Ray Johnson and the artifacts she found there and the legitimacy of that place and why it is legitimate. But I want to talk about other things with Arnie Mini Mace this time. I want to talk about Old Way, original Old Way law, women's medicine. And I also want to talk about her past in the Queensland prison system, where she was so effective the government were going to throw her out. And then all of a sudden something happened where the government said, no, stay after all. I think you need to hear about that. I think Arnie Mini Mace had never spoken about that as well. And I also want to talk about her experience at Uluru on the 21st of December when the other side were involved. She knows about that, and she's told me stuff about that too. How much she wishes to share, I don't know. She has got a fascinating story that relates to what we're talking about here, and that's why I thought she needed to join us, but that's her call. But the whole purpose of this particular one, mind you, the last article we did was all archaeological papers from all over the world, and we were being attacked for being so Pleiades-centred, and the link between the Pleiades and the ceremony at Uluru. And we left that alone to an extent last time, but we're back through the back door. primarily to begin with, to work out why it is now that the Pentagon have admitted that UFOs exist, why there was no apology, and why they lied anyway. They knew the answer wasn't Russia. And they claimed China could be part of it. At Roswell, when that alien craft crashed, if it was Chinese, can I remind you, Mao was assembling an army of spades, pitchforks, and an occasional gun they could steal. And Chiang Kai-shek was fighting against them. They weren't making factories that could make UFOs, for God's sake. To claim that the Chinese were involved in this UFO phenomenon, which is around, that's what they call it now because it's real, is ridiculous. Because for the first 30 years after the Second World War, Chinese didn't have any technology that could do this. And UFOs didn't just turn up in the last 10 years. They were around before then, so take them out of the list straight away. And of course, they claim the Russians could have done it. If they've had this technology since the Second World War, mate, I'm going to tell you now, they would have used it in the Cuban Missile Crisis and taken us all out. If they had it for that period of time, come on. They had chances when they weren't getting on with us to use it, and they didn't. Why didn't they use it in Afghanistan when they got smashed after spending 15 years there? And as soon as they left, it fell apart, went back the way it was. And then we did that. Same thing's happening. It's strange that. But why didn't they use it during that time? Why haven't they threatened the rest of the world when they're angry and shown that technology? And here's the point. If it is the Chinese or Russians, why didn't the Pentagon, with all the secret service there, why didn't they show us evidence, satellite picture of an installation, film of one of these places? That's testimonial by someone who's worked there. A letterhead with a comment about the fact we're making it. They gave us nothing except to say it was probably them. Well, they were still lying. It's funny, they lied for 50 years and they said, we're going to tell the truth. And they managed to tell the truth in a way where they made it a lie, and then the truth at the bottom. And somehow said that they had to cover that up. And one of the reasons why we're putting this together is, ladies and gentlemen, remember this. The announcement in America for the Pentagon making this investigation that shocked everyone was the 21st of December, 2020. And in Australia, on the 21st of December, 2020, Uluru was given a ceremony and woke up. And then 12 hours later, they reluctantly say, we're going to investigate this and come up with another lie. That's why this article is about a lie, and this is why this next online conference is about a lie too. Because we've got the skulls, the government knows it, they've written to me, and you're going to see what they wrote to me. I'm going to show you exactly what they've said and how they've set it up in a way where I can't take the skulls outside the front door and I can't get them tested. I want to, and I've tried to go along with everything they've said and agreed to everything they said, and I'll go into the details on the day about the ways we have tried to obey the government so that these skulls could be tested and analysed and find out where they come from. And we know they don't come from here. And I know that too. So join us on the online conference, and we're going to be talking about a lie. Again, it's the same lie that the Pentagon fessed up with, but then said it could be Russian or Chinese, or it could be alien. Ladies and gentlemen, if it's Russian or Chinese, they have technology that is 100 years ahead of America. All weapon technology. That means if a war was declared tomorrow or the day after, they would lose. They know that. They know that. If they have that technology, it's better than any fighter. It's better than any stealth bomber. It does things that break the stress rules that other earthly military hardware is tied into by a factor of 5 and 6 on occasions. No. So that's another lie. So that's what we're covering. The article covers it in one respect. Then our online conference, I think it's on in, Evan, is it on next Sunday or the one after? The one after, still a way away. So come and join us, guys. It's the only way we can get information out now. And it's going to stay that way for a while to come. Until next time, I'll try and turn this off.